Welcome to the Mischief. I'm Vallen, and this is Totemic, a Native American themed magic mod that will help you early game with a few simple tasks, as well as add in some extra magical benefits, and perhaps even a boss. So as you can see behind me, there are at least a few new critters that this mod adds in, but you have to actually create them. They do not spawn naturally in the world. There are multiple things that this mod can add, including something like this, a teepee, as well as some new trees and stuff. There's no real world gen, actually, except, allow me to demonstrate. There's a town just over here. As you can see, there is a possibility it can be turned off in the configs for a teepee to generate with a few of these totem torches in towns, in or around towns, as well as perhaps a villager that might have a slightly more red outfit like this guy here, medicine man, and he'll trade for different items that are part of the mod as well. And you can always obtain items that way, or you can craft them the way that I'm about to show you. So if you've never played Totemic before, you should know that it can be slightly tedious if you take full advantage of it, if only because there is a musical mechanic to it. Think of it as kind of like a Guitar Hero for totem poles, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. But there are a few different mechanics. I'm going to take you first and foremost through some of the, the totems and effects. Then we're going to be covering the musical instruments and the ceremonies that you can create, as well as some of the potential creatures and items that you can get along the way. Now, to start with, we're going to go with totems. In order to make a totem, and yes, there currently is no, special images for the different totem styles and effects. This is something that's been planned for some time as part of this mod, and it may still be implemented, but for now, it just gets kind of plain, as you see here. Now, to start off, you're probably going to want to make a totem whittling knife. Just ignore all the stuff on the side here. I'll go over that in a second. But a totem whittling knife, very simple, might change depending on your mod pack, but you take it to any number of your vanilla woods or the one wood that this adds in, which is the red cedar wood, and you should be able to make yourself, a totem base. Once you've crafted this up, it will actually, if you hold onto it, it'll say totem whittling knife, totem base at the bottom there. If you shift right click, it will change it to different creatures, I guess you could say, until you can go all the way back around, or you can shift and scroll with your mouse scroll wheel as you like. Now, with this in mind, this is the minimum requirement for making a totem pole. A totem pole is like a miniature beacon as far as Minecraft mechanics go. This one here is an example of a maximum level 1, which is 6 pieces high, including the totem base. Now, if you look here, I am currently using, here's what you're looking at, or HWYLA, and it tells you what each of the totems are very simply. If you don't have them installed, there are other ways of finding this out, but for now, just know that that is possible. Once you have set your whittling knife to whatever you would like it to be, you can easily adjust it to cut or carve the rest of the totem as you like, just by taking a stack of some kind of wood. In this case, I'll grab some cedar, and you can make yourself a couple of them that are pig, and then of course I can scroll it back down to the totem base at the bottom, and that's actually a completed one as well. You just need to have it at least be 2 high, so that you've got a base plus some kind of effect, and a maximum of 6 high. Now, if you are interested in reading about this stuff, there's actually a pretty comprehensive little manual that it comes with, the Totem Pedia, which the recipe for that is just a bunch of wood and some paper. It's very simple, and it pretty much walks you through everything in here. Your totem basics, it's got your different musical instruments, and so on. Everything's pretty much in here, and it is a good reference material for some of the ceremonies and things like that you'll need to do. Now, with this, the totems, you're probably wondering, well, what do the different animals affect you with? They will give you lots of different buffs or protections, or just really cool information. So let's start at the far left here, and we'll start with the bat. Now, if you carve a totem pole I will first tell you the effects, then I will show you how they actually affect differently on the same pole. But for now, if I have a base and one of these, this one is the bat. If you look on the, here's what I'm looking at, that's what it says. But the bat, you will not take fall damage in this area. Also, if you sneak while you're in the air, you will jump farther. What that actually does is it pushes you forward. I'm not actually pushing forward right now. I have the bat effect on me right here at the bottom. If I jump and press shift, so I was in creative, and it does not actually function in creative. The bat effect will function outside of it. So if I jump and press shift, I'm not actually pressing forward. I'm actually just kind of like holding shift and jump at the same time. So here, eventually, I will run out of range of it, and the effect wears off, and I'm just jumping with the shift button right now. I only have the night vision effect going on at the moment. So it boosts you forward a little bit, and of course you get the no fall damage. But if you aren't in effect of this when you actually land, you might still take the fall damage. So you have to be careful with that one. If you're falling a very far height and it's very fast, you might fall through the area of effect before it actually takes effect. Now, the next one, Blaze. Fire immunity. It actually just says fire resistance, but if you look here, I jump in and nothing. So even while I'm sitting in lava, so that's pretty darn cool. Next one here, Buffalo, gives you haste. So therefore, when you're using tools, you actually will swing them faster, even for attack, and for mining, anything like that. So if you have something like a lot of tedious tasks that you have to do, constantly breaking something nearby or whatever, you can put this nearby, and that will help you out. Now, the cow will give you resistance, but you'll also be slowed. Now, right now, I'm not moving that slow, actually, but that's because I also have a speed effect on me at the same time. Look at all these different effects I have. It's kind of ridiculous, but just know that that's kind of how the cow one works. It will give you resistance, and not just resistance 1, it gives you resistance 2, which is pretty neat, just for the basic entry-level version. Now, if I go with Enderman, I've got night vision. Of course, it's daytime. You're not really going to notice that here, but just know that I have that. Then we've got horse is speed, which offsets that slowness that I have. So I have speed 1 and I have slowness 1. So therefore I'm walking at a normal pace. But I also have a walking path in front of me that I'm walking a little bit faster on. Ocelot. Now this one here, it says no bagging. I will explain that in a moment. You just can't use it in a medicine bag, but it is anti-creeper explosions. So if you have a whole bunch of like livestock or chests or something like that nearby, if you have a creeper, let me actually grab one here. I can spawn one in, and you guys can take a look at it. See, I've got Ocelot right here. Drop the creeper. Ah, some of you probably cringed a little bit, but yeah, he doesn't actually do anything. Now, if I knock him outside of the area, I might have a problem. Right now, I'm just going to make sure that since he's so helpless, I'll just finish him off real quick right there, and he's good to go. Next one, Pig, gives you luck, and luck affects your fishing ability, gives you better loot. So therefore, that's pretty much how that's going to work, or better loot more often as well. So, and by better loot, your fishing can be good with like bows and books and things like that, but it also can just be mundane things like name tags. Moving on to the next one, Rabbit gives you jump boost. Spider, all blocks are like ladders to you. So watch this. I will walk up this. That's right. I can climb vertical surfaces in this area. It's pretty cool. Not a problem at all. Everything's pretty much treated like a ladder, and you can climb surfaces like a spider. Now, if there's a block above you, then obviously you can't like go out and around it, so you can only just climb up like it's a ladder. Wolf, of course, will give you strength. And these all have a very small area. They have got a radius of about 5 blocks. So about 5 blocks away from any of these blocks, or any of these posts. You can see some of them drop off. If I stand somewhere in the middle, I'm going to get a whole bunch of different effects on the side here. I think it's like, what, right there? I think I can get everything. Yeah, there we go. So it's pretty crazy. And it's centered upon the totem base. So if you make these really tall, it's from the bottom of the totem that you want to have this. So this is going to sound weird, but if you're in a house or something like that and you want these around your house, you're probably going to want to have them in the ceiling or something so that you can actually just, right above your head so that you can get the biggest range. And the range that they cover is a square. So it's a 5 block diameter, or 5 block out from it if you include the center, it's going to be an 11 block square by 11 block square. Well, yeah, of course, it's 11 block squares. Now, how totems work, besides that, is in their height. If you notice here, I've got several levels of pig. There are 5 levels of pig on here right now, and a totem base. If you look on the side, I'm still under some of the effects of some of the other ones there. If you look on here, I've got luck 3. And of course, the others are going to potentially drop off. No, I guess I'm still within range of... Oh, I've got some other things over here. Sorry. But the more of these you have, the stronger effect you're going to have. If you spread them out, for instance, I have horse, 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 and back here I've got horse and horse. So that totals 5 horse totem poles, right? So that feasibly would give me speed 3, which I have on this one over here, which is all horse. If you give it a second, there we go, speed 3. Now if I run back over here, where these ones are, am I going to get speed 3? No. It will take a second, it will wear off, and then it'll kick back on, and I get regular speed. So it's all in the height. If you stack all of the same kind in one pole, then you can get a better effect. If you spread them out, you get less of an effect. And those are pretty strong in themselves, but just know that there is an even further way of doing this. Because, yeah, it sounds great, you can get all these things, but you're like, you know what, it's like a 10 block, 11 block diameter. That's not a lot. I'd have to like put these things all over my entire base in order to get this stuff affecting a large area. So it's nothing you can go questing with, you know? But there is a way that you can do that, and that's with a medicine bag. The recipe for that requires some buffalo hide, which I will show you how to get that shortly, some red cedar planks, string, and a buffalo tooth. So in other words, you will have to have killed at least 1 buffalo, as well as grown some red cedar, which are both magical entities as far as I'm concerned, because you have to magically enhance to make them. Now what you do is you take a medicine bag, and you find a totem of your liking. Let's say strength. Then you right-click on, or shift right-click on here, and it will take a second, and you notice it's starting to fill up. You can see that it's actually increasing its little level there. And what happens is that right now the bag is closed. It's a medicine bag wolf. You see it even says they're closed. Now if I right click, it's open. And then I can just keep it on me. And I can run off. And I will maintain, even after all these other effects wear off, I will maintain a strength bonus because this is going on. And these last for somewhere in the neighborhood of around 4 minutes. So that's not too bad while they're open. Of course, you can always close it, get to the, where you're going to have a whole lot of fighting or something, and then, your boss fight, open it up for the boss fight, and then you've got yourself, your strength 1 effect, which is kind of cool. I like that. I mean, you have a potion on the go, if you will, but they are going to be somewhat restrictive. Now, if I take all these and open all these, that's right, they don't have to be on your hotbar. They just need to be in your inventory. And this is where, before I pointed out no bagging, yeah, you can't have ocelot in here. So you will always be at risk from creepers, but at least you can protect your goods at your base with a few of those basic ocelot ones. Now, you'll notice I've got all these open. They're all good. I've got a lot of bonuses right now. Now, this is the good thing, is that I can just stand by this, and they'll automatically all start recharging. So if you have these already open on you, you go out questing for a few minutes, whatever like that. You fight a bunch of bad guys outside your base, and then you run back, and you just stand near your Totem Pole base camp, and everything will fill up. So at the cost of inventory space, you can have a ton of different benefits. All right, so that covers a good portion of the mod, but that's not all of it. That's probably like 2/5 of it. So let's get into the music and the ceremonies part. Now with this, you're going to want to start with some musical instruments. You've got a bunch here. As you see, there's a flute, drum, wind chime, a rattle, a jingle dress, and an eagle bone whistle. Now if you go in here, we've got all these in place. I've got a bunch of wind chimes. They are best around a totem pole. They have to be somewhat near in order for this effect to happen. And I often will have, I've got maximum levels of horse on this, but I will often have a ocelot in place just to make sure that, my setup doesn't blow up while I'm like prepping and stuff like this, because I usually do it outside. But you're going to want to probably start off with a drum and a flute, which flute It's very simple. You know, you just get some shears to get yourself the leaves. And the drum, very simple as well, some wool and some leather. You get those, you set them up. In fact, I'm going to grab these, and I've got a couple drums here and here. Just by right-clicking, you use the flute, and by punching the drum, it will actually work. Or you could right-click. Either way, I would recommend right-clicking because that way you don't harvest it by accident. Now, if I hold down the button, you'll notice that there's only so often that I can use the instrument. It's the same thing with the flute. So therefore, I won't be able to use it all the time. And this is where it kind of turns into, like I was saying before, Guitar Hero for totems. If you look in your Totem Pedia, you'll have some ceremonies. And you'll have several to choose from. The higher up on the list, the simpler it is in most cases. The lower it is on the list, the more difficult it's going to be. For instance, we start off with War Dance. You will need to hit the totemist drum twice, right? Well, 1, 2, and nothing has happened, actually. The ceremony has not begun. Reason being, you have to hit Shift and then right-click. And you'll start seeing the little white sparkles there that the parrot's kind of blocking. There we go, and the War Dance has begun. Now, I have some chimes here. They are passive music makers. So therefore, their presence alone will start generating this. And you can have a whole bunch of these, but they're only going to generate so much to the music itself. On the bottom is the timer. On the top is how well you're doing. I didn't do anything, and I actually got a quarter of the way through. Those black particles mean that I failed at that specific ceremony. Now, if you want to succeed, you're going to want to have yourself, of course, musical instruments to also lend an ear. You'll notice that I also have a Totemic Staff. Now, it's also simply made as well, and it's just more of a tool. If you don't have something like, here's what you're looking at, then you can just use this, and you can right-click, and it will tell you that each one of these totems is horse. This one over here, bat, blaze, buffalo, cow, etc. So that is one way of finding out what these are. Of course, the totem pole is not doing a ceremony, so it will also identify a ceremony if you're not getting the on-screen prompt as we had before. If you want to stop a ceremony, for instance, let's hit this one twice. Oh shoot, the War Dance, that's not what I wanted. Just left-click, and it will stop the ceremony. Black particles means that it's ended. Now, I'm just going to keep the Totemic Staff with me for now, just in case, and I'm going to be using the flute and the totemist drum so that we can actually complete this first ceremony. Now, it also depends on how you perform. There are many different things, but there is actually kind of a progression to how you can find these things. Reason being is that you see that there are other things like an infused flute, a rattle, a jingle dress, even an eagle bone whistle. Those things aren't, at first, accessible to you. Now, a wind chime, on the other hand, is. It's not too expensive. It does require a little bit of iron. It does need at least one block empty below it. And it needs to be attached to a block above it, and it needs to be within range here. But you can spam a whole bunch of these and get a really good bonus from them. For instance, you saw the little bit that I got just from those. So if I grab a bunch more, and I go up here and just kind of fill this out a bit, you'll start noticing that I get a really big bonus from this. And this will only go so far, though. All right, there we go. So now if I hit this, 1 and 2, the War Dance goes on, and it will really start speeding things up. This will just ensure that you'll get the maximum use out of these, but this will not actually complete any song by itself. Once the little green note bar has stopped moving, that means that the current set of musical instruments that you are using are not donating any more to the composure of this tune. So therefore, you'll have to either switch up to a different one or use something else with it. In this case, let's start with the totemist drum. And then I'm going to start using the flute and the drum. And you can see that I'm getting a really good bonus from these two, plus those chimes up top are really just giving me that big bonus. There we go. I now have speed 3 and strength 2 for a decent amount of time. Now, it all depends. That speed 3 actually is refreshing, I think, because I've got some other effects nearby. I can't be sure, but usually you'll get speed 3 and strength 2 for about 3 minutes is how that tends to work. It may change, like I said, depending on your mod pack, but it should give you at least those two benefits. Now you can see that these guys are really helpful. I would recommend, if you want to max out your wind chimes and make sure that they're used to their maximum effectiveness in every ceremony, probably a dozen is going to be more than enough. I think you could probably squeeze by with 9 and still get them in, even on the shorter ceremonies, but probably 10 would do it at most, I think, that you'll need if you want to get maximum advantage. And if you see the white particles there, that usually means when you're having a ceremony that some of these items, in this case the wind chimes, are not giving maximum efficiency, meaning that there's just too much of that one instrument or something of that manner. Now, if you noticed in your Totem Pedia, there were other ones, like the Flute Imbuation. If I use this one, it will actually imbue your flute, as you saw down in here, or infuse it, as it is, to do several things. One is that it acts as if you have a favored food item of just about any animal out there. Now, I've got a whole bunch of cows here. You can see I'm gaining a cow interest here just by whistling at these guys, and they're going to start coming towards you. Now, it will wear off, just like if you are wandering around with a bit of wheat or something like that. They will stop following you. If they're already your pet, then you don't really need this. But it can help. It also works, strangely, on villagers. So you can be kind of a bit of a Pied Piper. If you don't have or don't want to have a whole bunch of different foods to lure animals with because you're having trouble making a lead, or you just don't want to make one, or you've got a massive group of them, this can help you get things done. On top of that, it also is a little bit more effective in your musical ceremonies. So therefore, it's well worthwhile to just go through and use this one, which you would start it off by using Shift, right-click twice, and you get your Flute Imbuation. Now, I could actually have this in my left hand, or in my offhand, and use it this way, same as before. And I will most likely complete this without any issue because, well, like I said, those chimes are a little bit OP at these early level ceremonies. There we go. I imbued any nearby flutes that are in my inventory, and they're complete. Now, I'm sure you noticed a few other things in here, like a jingle dress and a rattle, eagle bone whistle. Now, the rattle requires a buffalo tooth. Jingle dress requires iron bells, which also require iron nuggets. Now, this one is probably easier, but it also requires buffalo hide. Problem is, how do you get buffaloes? Well, if you notice, I've got some cows over there. You're going to need those first. And then you're going to need to open up your Totem Pedia and go to the Mandan Buffalo Dance, which is started with a totem's drum and a wind chime. So again, I'm going to want to take the flute out of my offhand, or else I'll just start using it. And I go drum and a wind chime. And it starts. And you'll see that you just need to keep on doing this kind of stuff here. Once it's done, you'll turn your cows into baby buffaloes. It works, I believe, on 2 at a time. If you want to speed them up, you can give them a whole bunch of wheat, and it should speed their progress to becoming a full-grown adult. And just keep on spamming it on them, and eventually they'll become big and strong like this one over here. All right, so you see that we've got a pen that is absolutely chock-a-block full of buffalo. Sad thing is, you're going to want to harvest these guys for the drops. Once you get those, you can get several things. In this case, I only got a buffalo tooth and a bit of raw buffalo meat. Now, the raw buffalo meat is similar to, and may even be better than, steak, because you can use it to make cooked buffalo meat. Look at that. That's like 4.5 haunches. It's pretty good. But you're going to need these ingredients to make more different, ingredients for your other other items, like your rattle. You see, I got 4 buffalo hides, 5 teeth. So the rattle itself requires a tooth, and the jingle dress requires a buffalo hide and some iron bells. Now, with these, you can actually do a lot more with your enhancements. So you put this on here, and you actually get a little bit of armor from it. If you notice it, it's kind of covered up, but you get like 1 bar of armor from that. And I'm going to take the rattle, empty out the rest of this junk off my hotbar, and use it. And you can see it's very simple. It can be used in cooperation with the flute. So therefore you can do and a drum at the same time. Now, if I have the Jingle Dress on, if I am moving side to side, you'll see that I had little musical notes near me. That just kind of actually creates even more music. So therefore, if I do this, I'm getting a massive bonus from, of course, all of these items. The rattle, the flute, the Jingle Dress, and of course the wind chime. So it's a massive amount of stuff going on at once. But if you keep it simple, you just click here, click away, click here, click away. But it's all in the timing of just getting these things in the right hands. If you are taking the time to put this in your hand like this or something like that, it's going to lose you a lot of time on some of the advanced ceremonies. So I recommend you hotkey it. Usually it's just the letter F on your keyboard, and you can put it in your offhand, use the rattle, and you're good to go. So moving on, yes, there's a rain dance ceremony. It will make it rain. A drought ceremony. It will make it not rain. The Zafkiel Waltz. That will actually do several things. It will grow chickens out of their eggs. It will grow trees, in this case red cedar, out of saplings. So allow me to grab some. I should have some in my inventory. Put down a few here and a little bit of something to keep them from growing. Grab a bit of glass just to plop on top of these for now. And it should convert those. Plus, let's see, I'll grab some eggs from some chickens. Just throw those on the ground over there. And I'm also going to harvest up all this. But it's so that you can see that I have a whole bunch of stuff that is going to be regrown very quickly, because this also will add a growth effect to nearby plants. Got a bunch of eggs sitting nearby, and I'm about to start this ceremony. So let's actually perform this one, starting with a rattle and a drum. So I'm going to want to hit Shift, rattle, and then empty hand Shift, drum. Now in this case, I had a problem with the parrot in there, so therefore now that I move the parrot, it's Shift right with the rattle, Shift right with the drum, equip the flute and the rattle, and then just perform this and simply get the Zafkiel Waltz going. There we go, and you know that it's working when you start seeing a whole lot of sparkles. I'm going to throw some eggs on the ground, and you'll notice, look at that, chickens coming up out of those eggs. Let's quick pick them up before it spams the entire place. And of course you can see the bone meal effect, and it does affect an area. You notice that some of it is getting bone meal, but not all of it. That's why I kind of did these strips here, so you could see. It gives it in an area wherever you see this effect here. And if you wanted to stop it, of course, you can just hit Totemic Staff. You can say, there we go, I'm done with that. That ceremony is over. One last thing, in case you didn't see it, we have those red cedar saplings now, which will grow into these kind of specimens over here. You can also harvest the saplings just from the leaves like you would a normal tree. Now there are further dances. An eagle dance, which is actually going to be required in order to get to some of the other dances. The sun dance, in this case, requires an eagle bone whistle in order to start. So therefore, you're going to need to convert parrots into eagles. Just by doing the eagle dance, you will, which actually starts with shift right-clicking a wind chime. These are one of the only things you don't actually need to use. If you left-click, whoops, I just put that, I'm in creative. If you left-click, it won't do anything. If you right-click, it won't do anything. If you shift right-click, it will actually activate as part of a ceremony. So remember, it always takes 2 of those in order to do it. So you'd shift right-click a wind chime, then a rattle, and you'd start exactly as you did before. And there we go, that parrot just turned into an eagle. And then, sadly, in order to continue on, you'll have to kill it. And it will drop eagle feathers and eagle bones, which you then use in order to make your eagle bone whistle. As you see here, some string, eagle bone, and a feather. So you only should have to kill just the one, and if you have some more, then you'll be good to go. But at least you've got that. Now you can spam out a whole bunch of drums if you want, but I find that you start getting diminishing returns. It's one of the weaker ones that you can get a better benefit from. I find just like the left and right dance with a bunch of different items works really good. Now, if you want to continue on to the sun dance, it's interesting. It will actually give you some really good benefits, but at the cost of health. Now, as before, I'd start this one with the drum, and then the whistle, and I start taking damage as I'm doing this. And you might want to think, all right, well, at some point, I might actually stop and start losing, or at least not progressing, with some of this music. In order to progress further, if you do have that issue, I recommend switching out one of your tools for a different item, like that whistle that you just got. Like that. And it may actually help you out by adding in some different music. It is a bit weird how that can sometimes happen, but it will ensure that you have enough musical variety to complete the ceremony. Now you notice, I had lost all but a half heart of health. It won't kill you unless something else is nearby punching you, but it then gave me absorption, speed, I've got speed 3 from this here, and regeneration 4. The regeneration 4 is just to get you back to your maximum health, but the absorption lasts for about 5 minutes. So then you've got like an extra bar of health that you can run around with for 5 minutes. You can add that together with some other totemic rituals and perhaps some medicine bags, and you've got yourself one effective warrior, which you're going to need to be in order to fight the boss. Now the Chimes of Death. This one here is not to be trifled with. Baycock. It's an evil spirit, appears as a skeleton-like figure. He's really cool. He has a bow. You start with the wind chime and then eagle bone whistle. You'll do this again as well. You will have to fight him and probably lose, but you can always cheese him if you want. In this case, I've got these in place. I'm going to attempt to try and cheese fight him. So we'll see how things go in this case. All right, so a wind chime and then the whistle. So start with the wind chime and then a whistle. And we're going to see about trying to keep up. This one is probably the most difficult one to do, and the one that I have actually had the most problems with. But if you continue with this before, like I said, and you get to a point where you get stuck, switch one of your tools for that other whistle, and you'll probably do a little bit better. Now I'm already starting to suffer here, and I'm going to use the eagle bone whistle, and just to try and finish off this song. All right, and there we go. Now, I am in here with my parrot, and there we go. We have our skeleton warrior here to slay us, but I'm going to cheese him in this case. So he will non-stop shoot you with arrows. As you can see, he's quite effective with that. You won't see the arrows coming either. If you let him, like you have a shield up in place, I just threw something at him, thinking, well, I could just, block his shots and hit him back with them. He doesn't do much damage to himself with that. So, and he will quickly destroy most shields unless it's like an invincible shield because his constant rapid fire. So you're going to want to seek cover from this guy. In this case, this is a very effective way of doing so. He might still get in a shot or two from a distance, but the benefits are well worth it. There we go, and as you can see, I was able to obtain a bald eagle. No, I got a bunch of different drops here, but it's Baycock's bow, which is a very strong and effective tool in just about anybody's hands. It's going to be a little bit more effective than your average bow, as well as enchant more. Now, it already does look like it's glowing, but if you are able to, and let's see if I can have this spot down here, you just go down into an enchantment room, and you can put it in here, and you have a good chance of getting, look at that, power 4 and punch 2. I was able to get something a little bit better on this one with flame and unbreaking 3 as well. So it's highly enchantable. It's a bow that you can constantly get back just by using a magic ritual, that didn't really cost you anything except for maybe a little bit of durability on your armor if you're fighting him in a different way. And that should be pretty much about it. I mean, there's plenty to do in Totemic. It's more early game, more not to make you overpowered, but to help you along the way. And hopefully you guys found this useful. If so, be sure to give a like, comment, subscribe, and as always, be sure to spread the mischief to others if you think that they'll enjoy this content too. And until next time, folks, I'll see ya.